The brutal truth and how we were targeted for kidnapping in Mexico 3 times. We've lived in Mexico for years. We speak the language and we thought we were local enough to be safe. But 3 different times we were targeted, and in 2 of the targets it was for kidnapping. The scariest part, it wasn't in a dark alley. It was in broad daylight, in our own neighborhood, and even inside a licensed taxi. Today, we're sharing exactly how we escaped, so you don't make the same mistakes we did. Our personal stories. Story number 1, followed by predators. We thought we were safe in our gated community of local middle-class Mexicans until a truck with blacked-out windows followed us all the way to our front door. Here's that story. We lived in a Mexican gated community. We were the only gringos in the community, which is much safer from home robberies and invasions. Well, that's what we thought. On this day, we were just coming home from going to the thrift store located on the main road that goes in and out of town we lived in. The store was about a half a mile down the road, so we took a leisurely stroll, as we often do when the weather is so cooperative in Mexico. Everything looked as normal as usual. People were in the street. We entered the thrift store and browsed around for a bit. Then we left the store and started walking back home, as we've done so many times before. When we turned off the main road to start walking home, that was when we first spotted the big pickup truck turning down the same street as us. The truck was a heavy-duty dark blue diesel truck. You could tell it was a diesel by how the engine sounded. Sorry, we didn't see the make of the truck, but it was big, sounded like a heavy-duty engine, and it had dark tinted windows. The truck drove by us, and after walking the entire block, we noticed the big truck up ahead of us had pulled off the road as if to park. We didn't think anything of it at the time. He was just parking on the side of the road. People do that. They pull off the road to park. Everything seems normal. We walked past the truck, lugging our thrift store haul, and we walk about another 50 feet to turn off onto the street we actually lived on, and we could hear the truck pull out of its parking spot behind us, and he slowly drove past us again. Now we started to wonder. He was not driving fast. He was driving at a snail's pace right past us. Was he looking at us from inside those blackened windows? He was keeping our walking pace just behind us in his truck on the street. That's obviously not the pace normal traffic keeps, so we took notice and were immediately suspicious of it. What was he doing? Frank and I didn't say a word. We just glanced at each other and kept walking. We were only a block from our gated community townhouse at this point. We both looked up as the big truck as it slowly rumbled next to us, barely moving. We couldn't see inside because of the dark tinted windows. And at this point, there was no denying that he was absolutely following us, and the pretense of looking for a parking space immediately deteriorated. Although Frank's safety antennas had been up the entire time. We were not far from our gated community, and when we got there, the truck pulled up right there beside us in front of the gate. I could hear Frank fumbling around for his key so we could hurry up and get inside the gate. I turned around and the truck was just idling there in front of our refuge. The man was staring at us, watching our every move from inside his truck. The engine rumbling loudly and the tinted windows was a bit intimidating, but we did not show that. We did not give any reason to show that we were afraid. We opened the gate and walked inside. We both knew what was happening at this point. Once we were safely inside, I mumbled to Frank, "Don't walk to the house, he's watching us." So instead of walking to our townhouse, we turned around and we had a stare-down contest. It seemed like time stopped as we glared at the rumbling diesel truck from the safety of inside our gated community. About 15 seconds went by as we intensely stared right back at him, letting him know we were on to him. And he didn't seem to care. Finally, he drove off. But that's not the end of this story. A couple of days later, an unknown female stranger accosted us as we were entering the gate and asked, out of the blue, "Do you live here?" "Yes, we do." "Oh, which casa do you live in?" We just stared at her and asked, "Why do you want to know that?" She mumbled something half-heartedly and was looking inside the gate, but she did not enter. She was not smiling and did not engage in any pleasantries whatsoever. We entered and shut the gate behind us, leaving her outside. She then walked off. She did not live there, and we had never seen her before or had any previous interaction with her before. After discussing it, we speculated that it was a scout, possibly related to the first attempt to find out which apartment we lived in. Our lives changed at that point, and we started taking different routes when we walked and really watching our backs. And we reluctantly started driving our car more instead of walking, which we love to do. We love to walk, and that's what we always did because everything was really close by, nothing more than a mile or two. But we had to start driving again. We made sure we were never followed and we never walked into our community while unknown people or cars were around. That's how you have to be. 6 months later, we left Mexico for the U.S. In border cities like Ensenada, Rosarito, and Tijuana, which are very popular with first-time Mexico gringos, you have to be on your guard for being a target of a kidnapping. Ensenada, where we lived, is 45 miles away from the border, but it has its share of criminality. We thought we had learned our lesson after that, but a few months later, Frank found himself in a high-stakes game of chicken inside a Mexican taxi. Story number 2. I got a taxi to take me to the bus station. The thing is, I did not hail this taxi right off the street like a newbie gringo. Instead, I had our Mexican landlord call the taxi on the phone for us. We've always been told that's the safe way to do it. Don't hail a taxi right off the street, they say. That's why I was a bit surprised, but not shaken, when the driver turns the wrong way and starts heading away from the direction of the bus station. Picture this. The bus station is in the center of town. This guy is heading out of town into the sparsely populated desert. There's no way he just got dizzy or confused. He's a taxi driver after all. Uh-oh, I thought, red flag right away when the driver started driving in the opposite direction of where the bus station was located. But I don't just sit there and let the driver take me further out of town. I immediately spoke up in good Spanish. I told the driver without any intimidation in my voice, "This is not the way to the bus station. You have to turn around and go back the opposite way." He did not immediately obey my order. He kept driving, passing obvious spots where he could have done a U-turn easily. So I said again, "Amigo, the bus station is back that way." Now, mind you, this is all in good Spanish. At this point, my mind was swirling with thoughts of what are my options? Jump out of the taxi while it's driving? And the driver finally relented and did that U-turn just as I thought I might have to jump out. No kidding. Then he said, "You seem to know the area well and you speak good Spanish. Have you been here long?" And I said, "Yes, I know the area quite well. I've been here 3 years and I have a bus to catch," I retorted, slightly annoyed, but keeping my poker face intact. "I've got this." And that's all it took. The minute the driver realized that I wasn't a lost, incapable tourist, the predator became a taxi driver again. Now, in this situation, we know for a fact that language isn't just for ordering tacos. It's a primary defense tool. Let me tell you something that makes this target story more notable. Frank's Spanish accent is pretty good, and so when he speaks, it alerts them that he's not some naive gringo. Some Ecuadorians have even thought he was Colombian or Argentinian. The locals in Spanish-speaking countries have always been impressed when Frank spoke their language. They're very happy because they're not used to Americanos speaking so well.
¿Qué tipo de trabajo usted ha hecho en Estados Unidos?
Pintaba las casas.
Ah, pintaba las casas.
Sí.
Ah, qué bueno.
Sí. Ahí trabajé por 9 años pintando las casas.
¿Usted va a pintar ya solo o con
No,
mi empresa?
Una empresa, una compañía, mi jefe.
Sí, pintar, sí, hay trabajo de pintar allá.
Sí, mucho trabajo.
Sí.
Él quiere que me regrese ahora.
Ah, ¿cuánto le da a la hora?
Él me pagaba 22 la hora.
¿20 a la hora?
22.
22.
Sí.
Ah, eso es bueno.
Sí.
Es muy bueno, sí. Se puede ahorrar.
Sí. Su español es muy bueno.
Gracias.
Habla bastante.
Aquí a la derecha este.
Frank didn't know any Spanish before we went abroad 15 years ago. He set it in his mind he was going to learn it when we got there, and he did. Frank is not really all that fluent, but he does the accent part so well that he puts the locals immediately on notice with it. I'd hate to be the guy who didn't know where the bus station was and he got taken advantage of later on down the road. Have you ever been asked for directions in a foreign country? It's suspicious, right? Well, here's our next story. Story number 3, the direction seekers. On this day, we were going about our business, doing some daily errands like we always do on foot, enjoying the agreeable weather, and 2 men in a car pull slightly over off to the side of the road into the curb next to us and ask us for directions somewhere. This all happened very quickly. We looked over and the car had several young men in it. The curbside door opened and our eyes locked with the young man that appears to be coming out. We did not stop. We kept walking. A car of young men stopping at the side of the road and getting out while staring at you seriously. No hola, no buenos dias, just a killer look. That's suspicious. We simply shrugged them off and kept walking in a serious manner, upping our pace slightly and keeping our poker faces not showing our internal apprehension. They yelled out something else and they sped off like hooligans. The way it all happened so fast was not typical of someone that is looking for directions or is lost. Usually in those cases, which we have also experienced, the person is either alone or with obvious family members, their children or wife, not a car with young men. And they don't start opening the car door either. The way the bad apples target gringos in this scam target is they want you to go near the car window, lean in, and once you're that close, they have you. They pull the gun and tell you to get in the car. You have to be quick-witted and know in an instant what is happening. We know that Mexicans don't usually ask gringos for directions, okay? The lesson here is never approach a vehicle, even if they seem lost. If they have a car, they have a phone, and they probably have a GPS also. Now, there are different types of kidnappings. There's the ransom kidnappings, there's the robbery kidnappings where they take you to a deserted spot and take everything you own, maybe even your sneakers if they're worth something. There's the kidnapping express where they make you take out money from the ATM. These types of kidnapping do not just happen in Mexico either. They happen in Colombia, parts of Ecuador, Guatemala, Bolivia, and beyond. So when someone says, "I feel so safe," so what? We feel safe everywhere we go too, but as you can see, it's not safe. Not really. Now for more brutal truth. Your safety really depends on you and how you behave in foreign countries. Here's some behavioral advice for expats. Number 1, don't act new. Walk like you know where you're going, even if you don't. Number 2, learn the language. Even a few local phrases can deter a criminal looking for an easy target, but knowing the language well can be your best line of defense, which I'm going to show you in a moment. Number 3, the 2-meter rule. Never get within arm's reach of a car window, and even that's too close. You can learn the language and use it as a weapon of defense. You see, we have to think like the criminals. Criminals often look for low-friction targets. Criminals are lazy, and that's why there is so much crime of retired people and women. They're more vulnerable. They're easier targets. A gringo who doesn't speak Spanish is a gringo who can't call for help, can't argue back, and can't describe what's happening to bystanders. When Frank spoke up in that taxi, he instantly became high friction to the bad apple. He didn't want to contend with someone that was from around there. He'll just wait for the next easy opportunity. So the thing is, you don't need to be 100% fluent, but you need situational fluency. For an example, knowing how to give and receive directions is a safety skill. If you know the landmarks, a driver can't trick you into thinking a wrong turn is a shortcut. Be a confident gringo. Don't let them see any amount of intimidation in your behavior. As an example, when the taxi was driving in the opposite direction of the bus station, it wasn't just what Frank said, it was how he said it. When you use the local slang or even just a firm, confident tone in your voice, it tells them, I'm not a tourist. I live here. I know what you're doing. Learn how to say phrases that can save you from being a victim, such as, this isn't the way, or stop the car. Even if you don't speak great Spanish, you should know some of these terms. We all know Mexico is a beautiful place to retire, and we enjoyed the 3 years we lived in Mexico. The people are mostly good people minding their own business. But you cannot afford to be naive in Mexico, or anywhere else for that matter. You should know safety awareness for the different situations that arise. That's why we want you to stay aware and stay safe, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care and bye-bye.